Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's Teaching with Overleaf webinar. I hope everyone is safe and healthy in these unprecedented circumstances we're finding ourselves in. I know that many of you are having to adapt to new teaching styles quite rapidly in this environment. So today's Teaching with Overleaf webinar will hopefully show you some of the tools that are available in Overleaf in order to help you continue teaching your courses and your classes. So on my screen right now, you should be seeing an Overleaf dashboard. And today I'll be going through the process of creating a template assignment in Overleaf, sharing that template assignment with your students so that they can make copies of the template and continue and work on it to submit their assignment. My name is Paul Gessler. I'm on the support staff here at Overleaf. And today my colleague Dan will be helping me out. He'll be playing the role of my student so that he will complete an assignment and then submit it to me so we can also go through the workflow of how a teacher or professor would review the assignments coming back through Overleaf. So let's get started. I'm going to open an example assignment template that I've created. In today's webinar, we're not going to focus too much on the actual LaTeX aspect. I'd like to focus on using Overleaf as a tool to help your students work with assignments and help you organize assignments. So you can create your assignment templates using any LaTeX syntax that you would like to use. Many of you probably have assignment templates already, and you can bring those into Overleaf if they're not here already. And when you're preparing an assignment template, you may want to provide some instructions for your students in comments in the template so they know what you're expecting in terms of receiving the assignments or how the students should submit those assignments to you. And if you're not familiar with Overleaf, you can see that right in Overleaf, you get a preview of the compiled output of the document. So as you make changes to your template, you can recompile and those changes will be visible on the right-hand side. When your template is finalized and ready to share with students, there is one nice workflow thing that we recommend, and that is to go to the history and label a version in the Overleaf history. And what this allows you to do is, if you are reusing assignments or changing the problem sets over the years, you can continue working in the same Overleaf project, but you always have a label to come back to so that you know what has been sent out to students at what time. So that can be done in the history view. When you're ready to share the assignment template with students, you can visit the share menu right here. And we recommend doing this with link sharing. So when you first start an Overleaf project, it is private by default. Only the owner can see it. And there are two different ways to share a project in Overleaf. You can invite collaborators via email address with either editing or read-only privileges. And this is great if you're working with a small group of colleagues or students, but it's not very convenient if you need to share this document with a large number of students. So we recommend using read-only link sharing, and that can be turned on using the button at the top of the share menu. And you can send out this read-only link to your students. This can be done via email list if you have an email list for your course, or if you use a learning management system like Blackboard or Canva, Moodle, any of those tools. You can share this link using any means of communication with your students. So when the student opens the project, by the way, the other useful thing with the learning management system or the email is you can also include the instructions to the students at that point as well. So when the student opens the assignment template, because you've shared it with them read-only, they will only see a limited subset of the tools that you see right here. In order to actually do any work with the assignment, the student will have to go to the Overleaf menu and copy the project. Once they've copied the project, that's when they'll have their own copy, and they'll be able to edit the assignment to complete the work. So this has shown how to share the template with your students. I'd like to hop over to the Overleaf project dashboard for a moment now to show some tools that can be used to help organize all these projects that you'll be creating. So when you first visit the Overleaf project dashboard and click on all projects, you'll see a list of all projects that you have worked on. And once students start sharing their assignments back with you, this list can grow large quite quickly. So there are some tools available in Overleaf to help organize this list of projects. So if you have all of your templates for each assignment, I have a couple of courses examples here. If you'd like, you can use tags to flag each of these as a template assignment. And then if you want to filter by tag, you can click on the left and you can see all of your templates. You can also tag based on which assignment it is. So when students start submitting assignments to you, you can categorize those so that they're kept separate. So I'm going to tag the template to go with MA 101 Assignment 1 as well. And you can have multiple tags added to a single project. So this is a way to organize, if you want to see everything related to Assignment 1, that also includes the template for Assignment 1. But you might also want to exclude all of the student work and just look at all of your templates, and you can do that as well with these filters. So when the students have completed their assignment, you can instruct them to share their project with you by email address. And what that will do is you will see a banner at the top of your Overleaf dashboard, and you can see Dan's submitted an assignment here. You'll also receive an email notifying you that you've been invited to the project. So that email can be useful if you need to track what time a student has submitted something. That email will contain the timestamp of when the project was shared with you. So if I join this project and then I refresh my dashboard page, you can see that now if I go to all projects, I have another project here by Dan who has submitted this work. So I can go in and categorize this as assignment 1. Depending on how many students you have, you might also want to keep track of what's been graded or what still needs work to complete the grading process. And so you could also create an additional tag for ungraded work so that you can at a glance see what's left to be evaluated. And this tagging system is quite flexible. You may want to tag things that are graded instead of ungraded. You can set it up any way that you like to work. Okay, so let's hop into Dan's project and we'll see if he got the correct answer to my example math problem. So right away when I open the project, the output is compiled, and I can also see the source code. And he did get the right answer, so this is very good. Some professors will want to print these off and evaluate them on paper in a traditional way. Other professors would like to evaluate the work online. And one way that you can do that with Overleaf is using our commenting feature. So if you're looking through a student's work and you see something you want to comment on, you can highlight some text and click on Add Comment. And this is a way to provide feedback to the students directly in their Overleaf project. You can also go and check the history of the Overleaf project. And if you would like to, you can compare to another version to see exactly what the student has changed through the course of the project. And this also has timestamps if you need to check when the answer was added to the project. One thing that I'll mention here is about the submit button, because we do have a lot of questions about what the submit button does. Naturally, a student is working on an assignment and they might see a submit button and think that that's going to submit to the professor or the instructor. On Overleaf, the submit button is used to submit your work to journals and other services that we offer. I just need to recompile so that you can see this. So you can see here we have a list of journals and other services where you could submit an Overleaf project directly. That's probably not what you want for a typical student homework assignment. You would like that to be submitted just to you. And so that's why it's important to provide instructions to the students that they can go to the share menu of their project and invite you. It's up to you if you request the students to invite you with editing privileges or read-only privileges. So you can see here that I've added some comments to Dan's work. He will be able to see these. And also I can download this PDF and print it off if I wanted a hard copy for my records, or if I wanted to grade a longer assignment on paper. A couple other things that I'll mention. If you would like to make corrections to a student's work, they will need to share the document with you with editing privileges. But another Overleaf feature that can be convenient for this is track changes. So if you turn on track changes in a project, everything that you change when track changes is turned on will be flagged in this review toolbar so that you can see exactly what has been changed by which collaborator. Now, this is only available to Overleaf users who have premium accounts. Many universities are providing premium accounts for students and faculty. If you would like to use this due to COVID-19, but you only have free accounts, right now we do have a work from home 2020 group going on that's available to people who are affected by the COVID-19 situation. So if you would like more details on that, please visit our blog, and there's information there about how to join the group. Another thing to point out with the free accounts versus the premium accounts is free accounts only have access to the last 24 hours of history. But if you label a version, those labels will be stored beyond the 24-hour period. So any history version that's labeled will be stored even if more than 24 hours goes by on a free account. So just to quickly recap everything that we've gone through, we talked through how to create an assignment template on Overleaf, how to label versions so that you can keep track of those assignments over the years or over the sections of courses that you are teaching. We've covered how to share that template project with students so that they can continue working on assignments. We've also talked about different methods for organizing Overleaf projects. And then we've talked about some of the reviewing tools that are available when you're evaluating those students' work. So thank you for joining us today. We have some extra time left and we'll open it up for questions. So if you have a question that wasn't covered in the webinar, please use the box on GoToWebinar and we'll answer any questions that we have time for. Okay, some good questions coming in. One question that we had was, I've mislabeled one of the assignments. Is it easy to remove a label or relabel? And there's two different places that this could come up. The first place would be on the dashboard list. If you accidentally miscategorized a project, the tag on that project can be edited by viewing the project in the list, and you can click the X icon next to the tag to remove it. Or if you want to work with multiple projects at a time, you can select multiple projects using the tick boxes on the left, and then in the quick actions on the upper right, you can select which folders or tags that project should be associated with. And then the other place that it might come up is if you're in a project itself and you want to change the label that you've created in the history. You can remove a label by clicking the X next to the label. And if you remove a label, then you'll be able to relabel it with some different text, or if you wanted to label a slightly different version of the assignment, that can all be done from within the history toolbar in Overleaf. Okay, another question that we've had, I'll go back to my student Dan's project. We had a question about what does the D mean in the corner up here? And next to the review pane in the top bar of Overleaf, you'll see a list of icons that represent collaborators who are actively working in the project at the moment. So if someone you're sharing work with has the project open, their name and icon will show up in this list. And this is useful if you're collaborating with people so that you're not trying to edit the same sentence at the same time. Overleaf will handle that, but you're not thinking in the same wavelength. So you might be editing one part of a sentence and another person is editing another part of the sentence. And so it can be useful to see the cursor location, and that is also shown when someone is active in the project. Another question we've had is, I see there is a place to reply to my comment. How does that work? And that's right, in the review pane. If this gets collapsed, you can always come back to it by clicking review, or there's an arrow on this center toolbar to expand the review pane. And the comments are threaded. So if you want to reply to a comment, you can do that and it'll be grouped with the original comment text. So this is useful if you need to discuss how something was done, or if there's a question about a comment that was raised on the project. And when you're done with the discussion, if you'd like to, you can click resolve, and that will hide the comment thread away in this resolved section so that it's out of the way of the main list, but you can always bring it back if you need to. Another question we've had, how to save copies or create a library of copies. So a unique copy for each school term. this is a good question if you are reusing assignments across terms of your course, or if you want to use an existing template as a basis for a new assignment. If you'd like to do that, you can open the project. So this was my assignment 1 template, and let's say I want to turn it into a template for assignment 3. I can click on the Overleaf menu in the upper left, and then click Copy Project, and choose a new name. So let's call this assignment 3. And now I have a new project for assignment 3, and I can continue editing from here, enter my new question. Okay, lots of great questions coming in. Is there any way to only show untagged projects from the All Projects section? So if I go back to the Overleaf project dashboard and visit the uncategorized section, this will show me all of the projects that are currently untagged. So I just created this new project, and I want to tag it under the templates tag, and I can do that right from here. And now you can see it's now a part of the templates tag list. Okay, another question that just came in. Can I share a version from the history, or is it always the latest version that is shared? That's a good question. When you share a project as read-only with read-only link sharing, and that's this method right here, the person who opens that read-only link will only see the current version of the project. They won't be able to see any previous history. But if the project is shared with any of the other methods, if it's shared with an editing link, or if it's shared by email address with either editing or read-only privileges, the person who opens the project will be able to see the history. So if you want to make sure that students don't see previous problem sets, or if you had some solutions for an old problem set in the template at one time, make sure that you only use the read-only link sharing method. With the other methods, the history will be visible. Okay, next question that came up. In a premium account, if there are several contributors in the same project at the same time, are there any complications? For example, some comments, changes in track changes are lost or not updated correctly. So this is one of the great benefits of Overleaf, is that it is collaborative. So if you're working in a project with multiple people, it's very easy to keep track of who has changed what, and Overleaf does handle that. If I open the project that Dan and I were both working in, let me go here. So you can see that it keeps track of who has made what change. So in this case, this track change was made by me, but if Dan creates another change, it's going to, okay, here he is. It's going to keep track of that and mark it as a change from him. And then the other place that you can see this in action is if you're viewing the history. And in the history view, you want to make sure that you go to compare another version. And if you highlight multiple changes, you can drag these bars to select which changes you'd like to view. If you look at the changes that were made, you can see that each collaborator is highlighted as a different color, so that you can keep track of easily who has been editing which sections of the document. So I'm going to go back to my main template here. Next question we've had was, can I clone a project at a given tag? So that's a good question if you want to make a copy of a previous version of a project. When you go to the Overleaf menu in the upper left and say copy project, that's always going to copy the latest version of the project, the current live history slice that you view in the main editor. And when you copy a project this way, the history is not transferred. So the previous history of a document will not be transferred if you copy a project here. If you would like to work in Overleaf on a previous version, what you can do is go to the history and select that previous tag. And at that time, you can download the source files of the project at that particular version. In this case, it is the latest version, so there's no difference. But if I go back to a previous version of the document, I can also download a previous version. And if you download a project, what that's going to give you is a zip archive of all the project files at that particular history point. And this zip archive can be uploaded to Overleaf as a new project. So effectively, that would allow you to continue working on Overleaf from a previous version of a project. Thanks for the good questions, everyone. I see that we're just about out of time. Oh, one question that did just come in. The timestamp feature for tracking changes, is that when the project was compiled? So the timestamp on track changes, let me go back to that project here. The timestamp on the track changes is the time that the editing was actually done. It's not necessarily the time that the project was compiled. And this is also something to point out is the compiles are per user. So if you are working in the project with someone else and one person compiles the project, but another person is editing and hasn't compiled it, you want to make sure if you're working with multiple people that you are compiling often so that you're always seeing everyone's latest updates. Because if I am typing and I compiled, but Dan has typed at some point after I compiled, I've been reading the preview over here, I won't automatically see Dan's changes. I would have to recompile, and then I would see Dan's latest changes. Last question we have time for here was, are tags available on the free version? And the answer is yes. With the history, you can, sorry, I'm going to show both just because it's one thing with terminology that a lot of people sometimes have questions about. The labeling of previous history versions is available on the free plan as well as our premium plans. And in the same way, the tags on the project dashboard are also available on the free plan. So that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you all for joining us for this Teaching with Overleaf webinar. We will be sending out an email after the webinar with some resources for instructions about the topics that I've covered today. And that email will also include a survey for feedback on the webinar. And we'll also follow up with people who had questions that we did not have time for today. So thank you all for joining us again. Stay safe and stay healthy. And thanks for using Overleaf. Take care.